All right, guys, today we're going to talk about The Challenge, also by Gary Soto, like a couple of the other ones we've talked about. So before we start actually reading, we're going to take note, or I'm going to take note of this little piece of instruction. As you read, take notes on how Jose feels about Estella. So as usual with the short stories, I'm not going to read the whole thing because that would take too long. We are just going to pull out certain points. Hopefully, again, we won't have to divide this into two parts, but that may happen if this takes too long, but I don't think it will. So, we're taking notes on how Jose feels about Estella. Those are the two main characters, and we're going to start very first off in paragraph number 1. The first sentence. For 3 weeks, Jose tried to get the attention of Estella, the new girl at his middle school. So, we already know that he must like her, and he's trying to get her attention. Thank you. He likes her. He wants to get her attention and thinks she's cute. He says that later in the paragraph. So that's our first little note. Paragraphs 2 through 10, I'm not going to make any particular notes in, although you are more than welcome to if you find something that you think might be important or might help you answer your questions. But in paragraphs 2 through 10, he basically just talks about all the different ways he has tried to get a girl's attention, or specifically get Estella's attention. In 6th grade, he tried tripping in front of a girl, but that didn't work out. He thought about going up to Estella and pretending to be James Bond. If you don't know who James Bond is, hurry up and finish this assignment and then use Google and go find out who James Bond is, because that is something that everybody should know about. Okay. That's an aside. That's your other piece of homework. Find out who James Bond is if you don't already know. He even tried doing his homework. So maybe some of you guys aren't in love with school. I was definitely not in love with school when I was in high school. And so he decided that he was going to do awesome on his homework to try and get Estella's attention, because he could see from history with her that she was super smart. It kind of backfires on him, though, because his teacher actually thought he was cheating. So, you know. So it talks about that for a couple paragraphs. But when the quizzes come back, she doesn't even notice that he got a good grade. The next week, or over the weekend, he has a bike accident, and I'm sorry, you guys can hear my dog. She's trying to contribute to our literary discussion here. So he thinks that maybe she'll notice the bike accident and be like, oh no, what happened to you? And he could make something up, make a story up to sound impressive. But she's absent the 2 days after that, and by the time she comes back, it's nearly healed. So he has to figure out another way to get to know her. So in paragraphs 11 all the way through 23, he's talking about what the way is that he's decided to get to know her. So we're going to highlight this part right here because this is the point where he's finally figured out how he's going to impress her. So we're just going to stop and make note of that so we can pull it out later if necessary. So he decides to challenge her to a game of racquetball, because he noticed she plays. So then all the way through 23, it's basically just him talking to her, trying to make friends with her. She's new, so he asks her how she likes the school. He challenges her to a game. In paragraph 16, she doesn't really care that much. She wants to know if he's any good. So, and then in paragraph 17, he has to tell a little lie and say, oh, I won some tournaments, but he does not actually know how to play racquetball. So we're going to point out that part. We're going to make note of that part too. We're just going to say he doesn't actually know how to play. So he lies to impress her / get her attention. So they make the arrangements for the game, and then Jose goes to see his uncle, Freddie, who actually happens to only be 3 years older than him, so that can be kind of awkward. I have the reverse problem in my family. Anyways, that's a side note. So he talks to Freddie about racquetball, and we notice in paragraph 28 that he says it's against a girl, in a way thinking that, showing that, I'm sorry guys, I cannot speak a full sentence today apparently. He's showing when he says this, it's against a girl, like he thinks he can beat a girl in racquetball, even if he doesn't know how to play, because probably he thinks girls aren't good at sports. Beat her even though he doesn't know. How to play because she is a girl. So that's going to change later. His uncle, Freddie, does not believe this. He thinks that she'll probably whip you 21 to nada, meaning she'll win with 21 and you have nothing. So Jose says in paragraph 30, no way. But in paragraph 31, there is a shift in the plot. Jose's mind twisted with worry. So up to this point, he's been real confident. But all of a sudden, his uncle has put these doubts in his mind. I keep doing that. Up to this point, he's been confident he can beat her no matter what. But now he begins to worry that maybe she can beat him even though she's a girl. He's never known a girl who was better than him at sports except for Dolores Ramirez. So one girl that was better than him ever. But he does recall her at lunch, the way she was. She crushed a milk carton with one blow of her fist. This is very dramatic language. If you crush something, you've just instantly destroyed it. She does it with one blow of her fist. He remembers that she ate 2 sandwiches at lunch. So I'm going to put a little note here, just a little underline in that spot. He remembers suddenly things about her that make her seem strong and somewhat threatening, which is why he's worried now. But he tells himself that it'll be fine. So this is kind of a turning point for the plot. He gets some instructions for racquetball from his uncle, but he's kind of worried about this whole deal. So we're going to keep moving on. Paragraphs. Let's see, paragraph 30, that was 31, so paragraph 32 all the way down, he's just asking various people about this plan. He asks his dad if anyone's ever beaten him, a girl's ever beaten him at anything. He says only in talking. But in sports, no. But the way his father says it says it doesn't encourage him. So you can see he's still worried. He assumes that he'll play better with a real ball as opposed to a tennis ball. And then it comes time for school. And then school ends and it comes time for the match. So we get to paragraph 42 after she's reminded him, okay, this is the time we're going to have our game, Jose is beginning to wonder whether he really liked her. Now she seemed abrupt, not cute. So in a second, we're going to look at the definition for abrupt, but we're going to stop here. He's kind of changing in the way he thinks about her. The way he thinks about her has changed. Now he wonders if he even really likes her. She doesn't seem cute to him anymore, like she did at the beginning. So I'm going to pull up the definition for abrupt real quick so everyone can see it. Abrupt means, can't make it show up, but it's brief to the point of, it can be kind of harsh. So if you're abrupt, it's just like a sudden stop. If you're an abrupt person, it means that you don't really try to be gentle about the way you say things. So he's unsure of how he feels about him. I said that wrong. He is unsure about how he feels about her. There we go. So paragraph 45, they arrive, they get ready to start. When she starts warming up and hits the ball against the wall so hard that the echo hurts his ears, Jose realized that he was in trouble. He felt limp as a dead fish. So this is the point when he realizes he's probably not going to win this game. Realizes he's probably not going to win. Okay, so paragraphs 50 through 70 describe the game. So they're warming up. Paragraph 50, the game starts. As they're warming up right before the game starts, he starts noticing how strong and muscular she is, how skilled she is in this game, and he's starting to get concerned. Paragraph 50, they start the game. The game goes on for several paragraphs, but in paragraph 66, I'm going to stop and point out something to you all. So it says, this is a change. This whole time he's been pretending he's good. He's been pretending like he might still have a chance to beat her. But in paragraph 65, he wished the game would end. He wished he would score just 1 point. But it also says, hey, you're pretty good. He says that to her. So he's willing to admit now that she's actually good at it. Whereas before he was unwilling to admit that he might lose. So we'll make this little note. So after that, we're going to keep moving. We're going to move on to paragraph 71 right after the game ends. So the game finally ends in paragraph 70. She lost completely. He lost completely. Jose realizes that his uncle was right. And it says, only 3 weeks ago, he'd been hoping that Estella, Stinger, might like him. Now he hopes she would stay away from him. So he doesn't even like her anymore. He's not interested anymore after getting beaten by her. Oh my goodness. He's not interested after being beaten so badly by her in the game. After that, we're going to move to paragraph 74, and that's about the end. Up to this point, he goes to talk to his Uncle Freddie about it, explains that he lost, and in paragraph 74, that's the last paragraph, he realizes that he's thinking maybe she'll come back. He needs to lift weights and get stronger. He kind of seems to view her as a rival or an enemy at this point now. So the way he views her has completely changed from before. And we're going to stop there, just barely in time. So I hope this video helps you as you go to complete the assignment, and I will talk to you guys later.